All right, so you want to get better at letting go of things.
Mm-hmm.
So we're taking a look at this book, The Art of Letting Go by Nick Trenton.
Okay.
It's got all these like practical ways to deal with like, your thoughts and your emotions and just like negativity in general.
Right.
It's kind of like
Like a toolbox.
yeah, like a mental toolbox.
A mental toolbox.
To help you sort of like break through.
Break through those roadblocks.
Yeah, feel a little more free.
Exactly. And, we're talking about real techniques here.
Yeah, actionable stuff.
Actionable. Yeah, we're not just going to be like, think positive,
Yeah. Right.
Nick Trenton actually grounds all his advice in some pretty fascinating places.
Okay.
We're going to be looking at Stoic philosophy.
Oh, cool.
Mindfulness techniques.
Yeah.
And even some research that connects forgiveness to better health.
Oh, wow. So it's not just like feeling better mentally.
Right.
But like physically too.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating.
So where do we even begin with all this?
Well, one of the most powerful ideas in the book is this thing called the Dichotomy of Control.
Yeah.
It's a Stoic principle that basically says you should focus your energy on what you can control.
Okay.
And let go of what you can't.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I feel like I could get tripped up trying to figure out,
Yeah.
what goes where.
That's where the book really helps.
Okay.
It gives you this step-by-step approach
Okay.
to actually putting this ancient wisdom to work in our modern lives.
I like that.
To illustrate the core concept.
Yeah.
The book actually quotes the Stoic philosopher Epictetus,
Oh, cool.
who said, and I quote, "Some things are within our power while others are not.
Okay.
Within our power are opinion motivation, desire aversion, and in a word, whatever is of our own doing.
Okay.
Not within our power are our property reputation office, and in a word, whatever is not of our own doing."
Wow.
Right?
That really lays it out.
It does.
I mean, so much of what stresses us out,
Totally.
it's stuff we can't actually control.
You've got it.
So how do we actually apply this?
Well, the book breaks it down into 3 practical steps.
Okay, cool.
So step 1
Yeah.
is cultivating present moment focus.
Okay.
So instead of dwelling on the past
Right.
or worrying about the future,
Yeah.
you bring your attention to what's happening right here, right now.
So basically being more mindful.
Yeah.
But how do you actually do that?
Well, it's more about shifting your attention than
Uh-huh.
thinking your way into the present moment.
Okay.
The book suggests incorporating mindfulness into your daily routine.
So what does that look like?
So when you're brushing your teeth or showering, really tune into the sensations.
Okay.
Like the taste of the toothpaste,
Yeah.
the feel of the water on your skin.
Yeah. I can see how that would be helpful.
It's like a mini vacation from your thoughts.
Yeah. Does the book recommend any other mindfulness techniques?
It also talks about this technique called body scan meditation.
What's that?
Basically, you start at your toes and kind of move your attention up your body.
Okay.
And you just notice any sensations you feel without judging them.
Is that similar to those progressive muscle relaxation techniques?
Kind of, but not really. With the
Yeah.
body scan, you're not trying to change anything.
Gotcha.
You're just observing what's happening.
Okay.
It's a good way to ground yourself in the present moment.
Okay, so that's step 1.
Yeah.
Once you've got that down, what's next?
Step 2 is about analyzing situations through the lens of control.
Okay.
So you ask yourself, is this within my control?
Okay, I like that.
The book gives this example of a project lead named John
Oh.
who's facing this stressful delay.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Right.
So how did he use this to deal with it?
Well, he realized that while he couldn't control the technical issues causing the delay,
Right.
he could control how he communicated with his team,
Okay.
how he prioritized tasks, and how he explored solutions.
So instead of getting all caught up in the frustration of the delay,
Right.
he focused on the things he could actually do something about.
Exactly.
That's smart.
It is.
So it's like shifting your focus from feeling helpless to feeling empowered.
Exactly.
I like that.
Now, the third step
Yeah.
acknowledges that there are things you can kind of influence, like how much effort you put in
Okay.
or what approach you take,
Yeah.
but the outcome isn't guaranteed.
So you're saying there's a difference between influence and complete control.
Yes,
Right.
definitely.
Got it.
The book gives this example of Samantha.
Okay.
She's a freelance writer, and she pours her heart and soul into her projects.
Yeah.
But she knows that things outside her control,
Right.
like the client's budget
Right.
or sudden market shifts,
Oh,
can impact whether a project is ultimately successful.
that's so true.
It is.
Especially for anyone who's dealing with the uncertainties of work.
Definitely.
You can do everything right, but sometimes things just happen.
And that's where letting go comes in.
Okay.
This third step asks you to accept that some things are beyond your influence.
It's tough, but I get it.
Yeah, and instead of getting hung up on what you can't control, you focus on putting in your best effort.
So it's all about managing expectations.
Pretty much.
You can control your input, but not always the outcome.
Exactly, and accepting that can be so freeing.
I can see that.
It lets you let go of unnecessary stress and focus on what you can actually impact.
This whole dichotomy of control thing
Yeah.
is really interesting.
It's a powerful tool
It is.
for managing anxiety and uncertainty.
And the book goes even deeper,
Yeah.
right? Like how to deal with the inner critic.
Oh, yeah. We all have that voice.
Ugh, don't even get me started on mine.
It can be relentless.
It really can. So what does the book say about dealing with that?
That's what we're going to talk about next.
Okay, cool.
It's all about recognizing that voice, challenging it,
Okay.
and eventually replacing judgment with compassion.
Sounds like a journey.
It is.
I'm ready for it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we're talking about the inner critic.
Mm-hmm.
That voice that like loves to point out all our flaws
All right.
and tell us we're not good enough.
Yeah, we all have it.
What does The Art of Letting Go have to say about that?
Well, it digs into why this constant self-criticism
Yeah.
can be so damaging.
Okay.
It even highlights some research by Roy Baumeister
Okay.
that links this harsh self-judgment to shame.
Shame.
Yeah, and that can lead to feeling isolated.
Right. So if you're always putting yourself down,
Yeah.
it's hard to feel connected to other people.
Yeah.
Or even like yourself.
Exactly.
What's interesting is the book doesn't just tell us how bad this is.
Right.
It gives us strategies for actually
Mm-hmm.
letting go of the inner critic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are some of those?
The first step is just awareness.
Okay.
You have to be able to identify
Yeah.
those recurring negative thoughts.
Okay, so the ones that just keep popping up. Okay. And once you start to notice those patterns,
Mm-hmm.
you can start to challenge them.
So it's like shining a light on those thoughts
Yeah.
that usually just kind of run on autopilot.
Exactly.
Okay, does the book give us an example of this?
There's this one story about a woman
Okay.
who realized that she was constantly telling herself, I should have done better.
Oh, yeah, I do that.
And she learned to reframe that thought
Okay.
to, I did my best under the
Oh,
circumstances.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a subtle shift,
Yeah.
but it can make a big difference.
So instead of focusing on what you should have done,
Right.
you're acknowledging the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
And, giving yourself a break.
Exactly.
It seems like a lot of self-criticism comes from that idea that we should be perfect
Yeah, totally.
or always performing at our best.
It sets us up for failure.
It does, because nobody's perfect.
Exactly. Nobody's perfect.
So the book says it's important to challenge these thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely.
So once you've identified that pattern,
You ask yourself, what if I didn't have this judgment?
okay, what would be possible then?
I like that.
Right.
It's like opening up this possibility
Yeah.
of a world where you're not constantly
Mhm.
held back by your own self-doubt.
Exactly.
Does the book give an example of this?
It tells the story of this woman named Alice,
Okay.
and she was terrified of pursuing her dream of singing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she had all these negative thoughts telling her she wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
But by challenging those thoughts
Yeah,
and asking that question, what if I didn't have these judgments?
Yeah.
She was able to overcome her fear
Wow.
and start sharing her voice with the world.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a great story.
It really shows how our inner critic
Mhm.
can prevent us from doing the things we really want to do.
It can hold us back, for sure.
And it's not just about feeling bad about ourselves.
Right.
It's about actually limiting our experiences
Yeah.
and preventing us from living our lives to the fullest.
So-
So challenging the thoughts is important.
Yeah.
But the book says it's not enough.
No, you have to replace those negative thoughts
Okay.
with something more positive and
Wow.
compassionate.
So it's not just silencing the critic.
Right.
It's about changing the conversation.
Exactly.
So how do we do that?
One technique it talks about is externalization,
Okay.
and that involves talking to your inner critic in the third person.
So making it into a character.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Okay, how does that work?
The book gives this example of a woman named Jess
Okay.
who struggles with anxiety.
Go.
And instead of getting lost in those anxious feelings,
Mm-hmm.
she learns to talk to herself this. Jess is feeling anxious right now, but that doesn't mean she's not capable.
Oh, wow.
Right.
So it's separating yourself
yeah.
from the feeling.
Exactly.
So it's not defining you.
It's not.
It's giving yourself comfort
Mhm.
and reassurance.
Yeah, from a more objective perspective. So it's
Subjective.
shifting from self-criticism
Yeah.
to self-support.
I like that.
And this ability to separate yourself from your thoughts and emotions is a key theme in the book.
Yeah.
And it leads us to another important concept.
Which is non-attachment.
Non-attachment.
Yeah.
Isn't that like giving up?
No. It's not about becoming detached from the world or like pushing people away.
Okay, good.
It's about letting go of the idea that our worth is defined by external things.
So not about what we have or what we achieve,
Right.
but just like recognizing our inherent value as human beings.
Yes.
I like that.
The art of letting go actually breaks down 3 types of unhealthy attachment.
Oh, wow. Okay, what are those?
Attachment to material possessions.
Okay.
Attachment to people.
Okay.
And attachment to rigid beliefs.
Okay, so it helps you see how like clinging to these things can create suffering.
Absolutely.
So can you give me some examples of what these attachments might look like?
Sure. So like someone might be really attached to having a certain job title.
Okay.
Or living in a specific neighborhood. Or achieving a certain level of income.
Okay.
And they believe that their worth is like tied to those things.
So their worth is tied to external markers of success.
Exactly.
Got it. And I imagine attachment to people could look like staying in a relationship that's not working.
Yeah.
Because you're afraid of being alone.
Right. Or feeling like you failed.
Yeah. Or like needing to control every situation.
Totally.
Or constantly needing validation from others.
Yes, absolutely.
What about attachment to beliefs?
That can be really limiting too.
Okay.
Like clinging to certain ideologies or ways of thinking, even when like the evidence suggests otherwise.
Oh, yeah.
Or being unwilling to consider other viewpoints.
Right. So unhealthy attachment can really show up.
It does.
In a lot of different areas of our lives.
It really does.
So how do we develop a healthier relationship with these things?
Well, the book actually brings in the perspective of ACT.
Yeah. Acceptance and commitment therapy.
Oh, okay.
To explain how to cultivate this like healthier way of relating to our thoughts and feelings and experiences.
Okay, I've heard of ACT.
Yeah.
But I'm not really familiar with that.
Sure.
What is it?
So ACT is a type of therapy that focuses on developing what's called psychological flexibility.
Okay.
And one of the core concepts in ACT is the difference between self as content and self as context.
Okay, those sound kind of complicated.
They do a little bit, but I'll break it down.
Okay, thanks.
So self as content is all about identifying with the stories our minds tell us about ourselves.
Okay.
So like, I'm a good writer or I'm a bad cook.
Right.
And these stories can be limiting because they create this like fixed sense of self.
So it's like we get caught up in these labels.
Yeah.
And start to believe that they're like the whole truth of who we are.
Right.
And those labels can change.
They can.
Based on our experiences.
Yeah, and our moods.
Right. Okay, so what about self as context?
So self as context is about recognizing that you are more than the content of your thoughts.
Okay.
You are the container that holds all those thoughts and feelings and experiences.
So we're not defined by our thoughts and feelings.
Right.
We're the observer of them.
Exactly.
I like that.
The book actually uses this analogy.
Right.
Imagine your sense of self as a washing machine.
A washing machine?
Yeah.
Okay.
The clothes that go in and out are the content of your experience.
Okay.
Your thoughts, your emotions, your roles, your circumstances.
Got it.
But the washing machine itself is the context,
Up
the
to that.
spacious awareness that holds all of that.
I love that.
Right.
That's a great image.
Yeah.
So we can create some distance from those thoughts and feelings that tend to like hook us in.
Totally.
And drag us around.
And control us.
We don't have to get so caught up in everything that's going on in our minds.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that you're not your thoughts.
Okay.
You're the awareness that's experiencing them.
Okay.
And the shift can be really freeing because it lets you choose how you respond rather than being controlled by them.
So ACT is like offering us a whole new way of relating to our inner world.
Absolutely.
What other techniques does it give us?
One technique is practicing sometimes thinking.
Oh.
So instead of saying, I'm an anxious person, you might say, I feel anxious sometimes.
Okay.
It helps create some separation from those beliefs.
Right.
And recognize that you're not defined by them.
So it's acknowledging that our internal states are fluid.
Exactly.
Does the book give an example of this?
There's this story about a woman named Helen who struggled with anxiety in social situations.
Okay.
And she'd always told herself, I'm just an anxious person. But after learning about sometimes thinking, she started to reframe her experience And she noticed that she actually felt confident and comfortable in some social situations.
Interesting.
So she started to challenge that fixed idea of herself as anxious.
Right.
And realized that anxiety was just one part of her experience.
Not the whole story.
Exactly, not the whole story.
So this shift in perspective can be really empowering.
It can.
Are there any other examples of this?
Yeah, there's this great story about a woman named Linda.
Okay.
And she'd always played it safe in life.
Okay.
But she decided to take this solo trip to a new city.
Brave.
Even though it terrified her.
Yeah.
But by letting go of her attachment to the familiar and embracing the unknown, she discovered this whole new side of herself.
Wow.
And experienced a level of freedom she'd never felt before.
That's so cool.
It is.
So letting go of attachment isn't about avoiding life.
No.
Or detaching from people.
It's not.
It's about releasing the grip of fear and control so we can be open to new experiences
and
our possibilities.
The book really emphasizes that true freedom comes from detaching from the idea that the world defines us.
That's powerful.
It is.
So it's about recognizing that we have the power to choose our own values, create our own meaning, and live a life that's true to ourselves.
Regardless of the circumstances.
I love that.
Me too.
So with all this talk of letting go,
Yeah.
I'm wondering how the book addresses forgiveness.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because that could be one of the hardest things to let go of.
It can.
Especially when someone's really hurt you.
Right.
So how do we forgive?
Well, the art of letting go really gets into forgiveness and emphasizes that it's ultimately about your own freedom.
Okay.
Not about condoning the other person's actions.
So not saying what they did was okay, but about releasing yourself from the burden of anger and resentment.
Holding on to those negative emotions just keeps you trapped in the past. It prevents you from moving forward.
That makes sense, but it can be hard.
It can be really hard.
To let go of those feelings.
Especially when they're so intense.
What does the book say about how to approach forgiveness?
Well, for starters, it points out this fascinating fact that forgiveness is actually linked to measurable health benefits.
Really? So letting go of a grudge can actually make you healthier?
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more about that.
So the book cites research by Toussaint and colleagues that found that people who reported higher levels of forgiveness also reported better health habits, less depression and anxiety, and even lower white blood cell counts. It is a marker of inflammation.
So forgiveness is not just a nice idea.
Right.
It's good for us.
It is.
Both mentally and physically.
Yeah.
But how do you actually forgive someone?
Right.
Especially if they haven't apologized or even acknowledged what they did.
That's a tough one.
It is. So how do we do it?
Yeah. Well, the book outlines this process called the 4 Ds of forgiveness.
The 4 Ds.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
It provides a framework for working through those emotions and ultimately choosing to let go.
Okay, cool. Let's hear about these 4 Ds. So tell me about these 4 Ds.
Okay, so the first D is deep diving.
Deep diving, okay.
And that's about really understanding the impact the offense had on you.
Okay.
What emotions did it trigger?
Okay.
What thoughts came up? Did it affect your behavior in any way?
So it's about acknowledging the hurt,
yeah,
but without judgment.
Exactly. Take an honest inventory of how you were affected, both internally and externally.
Got it.
The book gives this example of a woman named Jane.
Okay.
Her best friend, Sarah, betrayed her trust.
Oof, that's tough.
Yeah. And Jane really takes the time to sit with the hurt and anger she's feeling.
Okay.
She journals, she talks to a therapist, she lets herself fully experience the pain without trying to suppress it.
So before you can move on,
right,
you have to really acknowledge what you're moving on from.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So what's the second D?
The second D is deciding.
Okay.
And this is where you make a conscious choice to forgive.
So this isn't about saying what the other person did was okay.
Right. It's not about letting them off the hook.
Okay.
It's about choosing to release yourself from the burden of anger and resentment.
So it's recognizing that holding on to those negative emotions is only hurting you.
Exactly. In Jane's case, she realizes that carrying around that anger towards Sarah is preventing her from enjoying her life.
Wow.
It's affecting her mood, her sleep, even her relationships with other people.
So she makes the decision to forgive Sarah.
Yes.
But not to condone Sarah's actions.
Right.
But to free herself.
Exactly.
From that burden.
From that weight.
Yeah. Forgiveness as self-care.
I like that.
I do too.
So you've deep dived into the hurt. You've decided to forgive.
Yep. What's next?
The third D is doing.
Doing, okay.
This is where you put forgiveness into action.
Okay.
And this can look different for everyone.
Okay.
You might write a letter of forgiveness.
Okay.
Even if you never send it.
Okay.
Or just like make a conscious effort to shift your thoughts and feelings about the situation.
So moving from that internal decision to forgive to some kind of external expression.
Exactly. Aligning your actions with your intentions.
Got it.
In the example with Jane, she decides to write Sarah a letter.
Okay.
Expressing her hurt and anger.
Yeah.
But also saying that she's decided to forgive her.
Okay.
She doesn't send the letter.
Oh.
But the act of writing it helps her release those feelings.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is.
And it's practical.
Yeah.
Because you don't necessarily have to confront the person.
Exactly.
You can just like process it yourself.
You can.
Okay. So we've got deep diving, deciding, doing. What's the last D?
The last D is deepening.
Deepening. Okay.
And this is recognizing that forgiveness is a process.
Not just a one-time thing.
Not a one-time event. Yeah.
Okay.
Those feelings of hurt and anger might come back up. That's totally normal.
Okay.
The key is to keep practicing and gently guide yourself back to that place of forgiveness.
So it's like building a muscle.
Yeah, kind of like that.
The more you practice it, the easier it gets.
Exactly. It's about developing a habit of compassion toward yourself and toward others.
But the book also says that sometimes, even with forgiveness, you need to create distance from toxic people.
You do.
Forgiveness doesn't mean you have to put up with abuse.
No, it doesn't.
Or disrespect.
Exactly. So the book outlines 3 degrees of distance.
Okay, 3 degrees.
You can consider.
Okay, I'm listening.
Depending on the situation and the relationship.
Okay, so what are these 3 degrees?
So the first degree is pulling back without formally notifying the person.
So like subtly shifting the dynamic without having a big conversation about it.
Right. This can be helpful.
Okay.
When you can't completely avoid contact, but you want to minimize the negativity.
Okay, what's the second degree?
The second degree is dealing with the person at arm's length.
Okay.
Or through an intermediary.
So like at work.
Yeah.
You could communicate through email.
Exactly.
Or have a colleague relay messages.
Yeah, that can help maintain professionalism while still protecting yourself.
Okay, and the third degree?
The third degree is formally distancing yourself.
So this is where you actually tell the person that the relationship is changing.
Exactly.
And that their behavior needs to change.
If they want to stay connected.
This is a more direct approach.
It is.
You're setting boundaries.
Yes.
And outlining consequences.
And this is often necessary when you're dealing with people who are consistently abusive or disrespectful.
Even if it's family.
Even if it's family.
That's hard.
It is really hard.
So what does the book say about those conversations?
Well, it really emphasizes putting your well-being first.
Yeah.
And creating a safe and healthy space for yourself. Even if that means letting go of some relationships. It gives you tips for communicating clearly, holding firm to your boundaries, and choosing the right way to communicate. Whether it's face-to-face, a phone call, or even a letter.
The Art of Letting Go seems like a really helpful resource.
It is. It covers so much from managing your thoughts and emotions to navigating relationships and making choices about who and what you let into your life.
So what's the big takeaway?
I think the biggest takeaway is this.
Yeah.
True freedom isn't about controlling the world around us.
Okay.
It's about mastering our inner world.
I like that.
It's about letting go of the thoughts and emotions and beliefs that hold us back and choosing a more like flexible and compassionate and empowered way of being.
So we have more power than we realize.
We do.
We can choose our thoughts.
Yes.
Shape our responses and create a life that reflects our values.
Exactly. And that's what the art of letting go is all about.
It's a guide to reclaiming that power.
Yes.
And using it to create a life that's more fulfilling.
More meaningful.
And more free.
Absolutely.
This has been such a good deep dive.
I agree.
I feel like I have a whole new perspective on letting go.
Yeah.
It's not about giving up.
It's not.
It's about choosing freedom.
Yes.
Choosing peace.
And choosing ourselves.
Well said.
And on that note, we'll leave you with a final question from The Art of Letting Go.
Okay.
What's one thing you're attached to that might be holding you back from discovering your true self?
Oh, that's a good one.
Is it a possession, a relationship, a belief?
Yeah.
Take some time to think about it and see what comes up.
I love that.
Me too.
Until next time, keep diving deep.